And I want to welcome everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Noon, and I will serve as your host and facilitator during today's meeting. I'm the program manager jointly funded by Pima Community College and the City of Tucson, supporting workforce and economic development within the Thrive in the O5 area. Welcome to our second 2021 Thrive in the O5 Virtual Business Forum. We held our first virtual business forum in March of 2021 and highlighted 3 local Thrive in the O5 businesses and their stories of resilience. Today, we are pleased to welcome the City of Tucson Department of Transportation and Mobility, along with the Arizona Department of Transportation, to provide updates on transportation and mobility improvements along Oracle Road. Later in the meeting, we will share community updates from our Thrive in the O5 lead partners at Pima Community College Downtown Campus, City of Tucson Housing and Community Development, and ASU School of Social Work. For those of you who are new to Thrive in the O5, Thrive in the O5 is a collaborative community revitalization and transformation initiative within the historic Miracle Mile Oracle Road corridor, the 85705 zip code. Led by the City of Tucson Housing and Community Development, City of Tucson Economic Initiatives, Pima Community College, and ASU School of Social Work. So before we get officially started with our meeting and our presentations today, I have a couple meeting logistics that I'd like to share with you all. First, as I mentioned in the beginning, this meeting is being recorded and the recording will be available later this week to view, and we'll share it out via the Thrive in the O5 Business Connection email that we send out weekly on Friday mornings. If you are not already receiving this email, you will be subscribed after attending today's event. If you don't wish to receive the email, you can unsubscribe. Second, this meeting is being broadcast via Zoom webinar, which means we do have your cameras and your microphones turned off for the meeting, but we do invite you to engage with us and participate by adding questions to the chat. And I'll go ahead and I'll check for those questions throughout our presentations and direct them to our presenters. So with that, I am pleased to kick off today's meeting and invite Ms. Barbara Coffey, our Director of Economic Initiatives with the City of Tucson, to share her opening remarks. Barbara?
Great, thanks, Teresa. Welcome, everyone. And hopefully this may be our last virtual gathering, although I have to admit it's been quite handy to at least be able to stay in touch in this way. And we've certainly shared a lot of good information and resources with folks in this manner during this last year of pandemic. But I am excited that hopefully we'll be together again soon. Maybe in the fall, we'll be back at Pima Community College Downtown Campus. So be sure to keep watching your inbox, as Teresa said, for more meetings. I think we really did get off to a good start when we began a couple of years ago to convene the business community and the landowners and property owners in the Thrive in the O5 area to talk about ways to breathe new life into this area, to revitalize. And certainly Pima Community College has been at the core of that with the investment that they're making and the programs they offer. And you're going to hear a lot more about that as well later today. But I'm just pleased to have my colleagues here from the Department of Transportation and Mobility and also Housing and Community Development to again support and share all the things that make what we need for quality of life, for economic development to really occur. We need a lot of things going on. All aspects of the community in terms of public infrastructure have to be at the ready and be able to handle and help support an enhanced economic development environment. So anyway, I think that's exciting. We're going to hear a little bit about how that may impact your businesses and your neighborhoods that surround the Thrive in the O5 area. So again, thanks, Teresa, for putting this wonderful panel together. And I look forward to listening in, and then we'll go from there. So back to you.
Great, thank you so much, Barbara, and thank you for your ongoing support of these efforts, particularly within the Thrive in the O5 area. Before I introduce our first speaker, I do want to invite everybody to place into the chat your name and who you represent, and if you are located in the Thrive in the O5 area, and that way we can build some community around our participation today. And with that, as you're doing that, I want to invite our first speaker, Diana Alarcon, is with the Department of Transportation and Mobility at the City of Tucson. And so thank you so much for being here. We look forward to you speaking about transportation and mobility, and take it away.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. I'm going to enjoy. So I just want to make sure I have everything checked so that it's coming up, and I'm going to share my screen. So if you could just let me know if it's showing up. I'm really quite proud of myself. This is really the first time I've
And that's just too many. One is too many.
Sorry.
It's too many.
Let me stop this. So can y'all see the screen?
Looks good.
All right. I skipped through the hello. So let me just back this up. And I want to start off with actually an initiative that we have going on. It has actually been implemented on Oracle Road between Grant and DRACHMAN. And this is a little video just to kind of share with what this initiative was.
Last year, we had 34 pedestrian fatalities out of 88 fatalities across the board. And that's just too many. One is too many.
That means a lot to families that are missing their loved ones. We need to make sure that we reduce those numbers.
It's really important to raise awareness about pedestrian safety here in Tucson and, do what we can to look out for each other. So a safety corridor, we broke them into 1 mile stretches, and basically it's a series of special signs and markings. And the elements are an initial sign that's flashing that tells you you're entering the corridor. And then we have rumble strips, bumps in the pavement that give you an audible alert in your vehicle. Right after that audible alert, we have a flashing sign to say, hey, you're entering a pedestrian safety corridor. And then we have a series of supplemental signs as you head westward. Then we have an increased number of speed limit signs with orange flags on either side to really let you know what your speed limit is.
They've been proven to reduce the number of fatalities and injuries on our roads and our streets, and slowing down pedestrians, slowing down bicyclists, slowing down our motorists. It's been a community collaboration between the Tohono Nation, the Pascua Yaqui Nation, and the City of Tucson, working together to lower the number of fatalities and injuries on our roads and our streets. Everybody needs to work together to improve the quality of life for all our citizens, but we also got to make sure that they bring awareness to slowing down, obeying the speed limits, and not be distracted while you're driving. Yay!
So I bet all of y'all are wondering why, because this area is actually not in Ward 5, but there's a little history behind this I just want to share. The council member had been successful in actually receiving a grant from the two nations. And he approached us and said, hey, I have this money and I want to spend it on safety elements. Can you identify the areas that were having the largest number of crashes when it comes to pedestrian and bicycle safety? And this section of Oracle Road, as well as another section on Nogales, was actually recognized. And so he said, yes, go spend the money, put it there. And so there was actually 2 areas that the safety corridor got put in and approved and built. And Oracle was one, as well as over in Nogales. And this was actually our virtual ribbon cutting ceremony that we had put together because we did this in the middle of the pandemic and we weren't able to go out and share it with the public. So we wanted to have something for the public to let them know what we were working on while, yes, more people were staying at home in their cars and not using their cars, but we wanted people to be safe. And I'll just share with you real quick, during the pandemic, we actually saw a rise in the number of crashes that occurred, as well as the number of fatalities that occurred. And mainly that's because the roads were open and people felt safe and they traveled at much higher rate of speeds. And when the crashes occurred, they unfortunately led to death. So the importance of the safety corridor is slow down, follow the speed limit, be mindful of pedestrian bicycles, because we want to make sure everyone makes it home to their loved ones. Oops. So let me advance. It's not letting me, it's going into the, hold on. There we go.
Last year, we had 34 pedestrians.
I'm trying to move it. There we go. So, excuse me. It took me a minute to figure out how to advance. Sorry about that. So the next thing we actually been working on over in the 05 is a slow street. So we were very fortunate that when we actually went into pandemic mode, the city of Tucson was awarded dollars through the CARES Act. And our mayor and council actually said, hey, I wanted to put $1.4 million aside so you can kind of do some slow street activities or actually look at improving the streets so that we give an opportunity of the street being used more for pedestrian and bicycle activities than that for moving cars. Because again, most of us during the pandemic were staying at home. So we actually kicked off a program that was going on throughout the world. This wasn't just in Tucson. There were many cities in the United States did it, but this was actually something that was being practiced across the world. So we actually developed our own Flow Street, initiative. And these are some pictures of some of the areas that we were able to do. So in this, we actually started by putting up temporary items. So if you were in this area, you may have seen barricades up or just, pop up temporary items. And then once we got through and got it done and everybody could see how it worked, people were much more, yeah, we want to do this. And then we moved into a more permanent design. So what you see on North 4th Avenue is we actually created, narrowed the street down so it wasn't so open and easy. That was actually 30 foot. So we moved it down to 20 feet in each direction and added these walking paths, bicycle paths, as well as can be used for parking for the neighborhood. And that was really what the community wanted. So we went through Slow Streets, we worked very closely with the community, and we really took direction from them about what they wanted. And we also were able to do some speed hump improvements that helped slow down the cars. And then as you can see from this other design, that's to the right, this is on North 15th Avenue, where we actually put in traffic circles in the middle and then put cones up so that people were aware, and that made people slow down as they went through the intersection. They couldn't just race through. Now, we weren't able to do any type of beautifications in some of these areas for two reasons. One is, as you can see in that one picture, there's a stormwater manhole in the middle. So this street also carries a lot of water for us when we have rains. And we just didn't have the additional dollars to be able to do some type of design with the green infrastructure and all of that. So it was a way to put something up that would provide a safety element for the neighborhoods, but we weren't able to do a full blown, where in some places we actually have. But also on those streets that carry a lot of water, we're finding that the traffic circles or the roundabouts with that green infrastructure are not built well enough to handle the water. And with some of the streets vegetation that's gone into those circles, they're actually causing flooding issues. So we really have to be really careful on the streets that move a lot of water, because we want to make sure we design it right, slow the traffic down, but also not create flooding that will affect your home and your quality of life. And I love the picture at the top right, because it shows a car coming in an intersection slowing down, as well as a bicyclist. And that was the whole point. It was about giving the street back to our neighbors. It was about extending their front porch. And we found this to be a really successful program. So 11th Avenue and Florist Street is another area we're working on. We actually put up temporary stops to test and pilot the thought of closing that street down more permanently, and we've had great success. So this was an area that was actually blighted with a significant amount of crime, and by actually curving how cars can move, we were actually saw a reduction in the amount of crime that was occurring in the area. So right now, this was all temporary. Right now, we're in the process of actually doing a full design to look at taking it to a permanent road closure at 11th and Florist. And we're working through that right now. We're actually doing that in participation with Ward 3 and looking forward to that becoming something more permanent and also much prettier than what you see out there today. So again, this was a pilot study. It had quite the successes, and we kept it, and we're going to be moving forward to more permanent fixtures or structures in the very near future. So Tucson delivers strong connection. So, we went out to the voters just when I actually arrived in the city in late 2018, and Prop 407 was approved. So it was really looking about adding connections to our parks and to our current bicycle boulevards. So what this map is actually showing is and identifying is where those bike boulevards and improvements are going to be happening through funds from Prop 407. So some of the improvements that you're going to see is actually going to be some additional hawks, especially across major streets that move a lot of vehicles. You're going to see maybe some traffic circles going in, as well as speed humps. It could be really a majority of things, better identifying the street, creating maybe buffered bike lanes. So as we're moving through it, and there's 3 phases of this, but it's to be built over a 9-year period, we will actually be reaching out to the community. So y'all all will be engaged. I know right now we're working on Blackledge because I actually participated in one of the events a couple of weeks back. But as we're moving through and doing these, we're actually reaching out, holding public meetings, really trying to have a conversation with the community so that we build what they would like. So I know Blackledge we're working on, and I also know 3rd Street is another one we're currently working on. So if we haven't started on your program, we will be. Again, this is 9 years. We're actually in year 2. And so we're just really kicking off and going. But I just wanted to share a map of where we're at, where we're going, and what you can expect within the 05 area. So Move Tucson is another initiative that we are actually bringing to some closure, but still plenty of opportunity to actually get involved and make comments. We're opening back up to the public the map that you see in front of us. So these are all the projects that were identified over the past years. We've been doing community outreach that the community would like to see. And as you can see, this touches on everything. This touches on pedestrian pathways. It touches on bicycle pathways. It touches on adding additional streets, new streets, because out east we are growing pretty significantly. And there are some places out there we just do not have streets. This identifies our transit where we want to see growth and expansion with it. This identifies growth and expansion of the streetcar. This touches every single mode in a comprehensive way. One of the things that I've noticed when I first arrived here is we had some great plans. We had a plan for pedestrian, a plan for bicycles, a plan for cars, a plan for transit, but none of it talked together. So we took all of those plans and we brought it all together and moved Tucson. And that's what you see now. I invite everyone to please get involved in Move Tucson. You can do it by going to movetucson.org. This map will be up there. You'll be able to go in and look at it, understand exactly what's in that project, because right now it's just lines on a map, but each one of those lines represents an ask. And that could be down to, you know, adding a bike lane, adding some lighting, adding a sidewalk, whatever it is, that's how it's recognized. And tier 1 means it's kind of on the upper priority. Tier 2 would be the next priority, and tier 3 would be the third. And also, one of the great things about Move Tucson, it's a living document. We're meant for it to be flexible, because as our city changes, which it does, as the landscape of our city changes, so as we have growth, as we have new development come in, we need to think about how we also change and adjust the landscape of our transportation to support that living. It's all about quality of life. And that even goes into looking, and when I say all modes, it's not just the ones I mentioned. I want to get to the micromobility as well, because it's about how you can move on a scooter, if that's your choice of mode, on an electric bike, or even by foot. We just want to make sure what we're building as we move forward is A, sustainable, and B, safe for everyone. Safety always number one. Do not want to build anything unless it's safe. So I invite everyone, please help us get involved with Move Tucson. Go to movetucson.org, take a look at the map, provide us your input and feedback. And again, this will be a living document. So it's something we look at constantly. It's a tool we intend on looking at on a regular basis. So bus rapid transit is another initiative we have going on in the 05 area. The city actually applied for a grant through the FTA, a planning grant, and we were successful in getting that grant. And that grant actually had us looking at a bus rapid transit system that went all the way from the Tohono Regional Transit Center all the way down to the airport, connecting in the downtown area. And so we had mapped out a recommendation, but if you'll notice, there's a bubble around that dark blue line, and that bubble was, as we're doing this planning grant, it's looking at the feasibility and identifying somewhere within that bubble, there might be a better route for us to take. So we are looking at expanding a bus rapid transit that would move from downtown to the north and also from downtown to the south. And also with part of this planning grant, excuse me, we really want to look at creating some transit-oriented development, but an e-transit oriented development. And that's really looking at equity within everything that we're recommending with the transit-oriented development, making sure that the development is supporting the transit, that it has low cost involved in it, it's affordable housing, it's really providing a very vibrant healthy pedestrian corridor. It's about mixed use in the land, so not everything's a tower. Really kind of, I like to, instead of calling them TODs, I like to call them transit villages. And it's really about making sure you have all the right services that meets the need of the community, that you have the appropriate land use in place, affordable housing is part of it, a lot of walkability, parks, everything that ties into creating that really sustainable quality of life. It's also about creating new jobs and opportunities, and about, again, providing ways to support the transit so that that is the use. And again, that goes back to sustainability, because our mayor and councils challenge us as staff to get to a carbon neutral city by 2030. And part of that is actually putting in some of the sustainable, the sustainable opportunities through the bus rapid transit or the ETOD that we're working on. So lots more will be coming. We'll be doing some community outreach on this as well. We've actually been very successful with hitting some of our milestones already, but you're going to be seeing a lot more of this in the very near future coming out to you. So just keep open, because again, that's going to require a lot of community engagement input. We really want to be aware of what everybody wants in their front yard and their backyard. So I talked a little bit about that first and last mile. So our mayor and council recently approved our e-scooter program. The RFP actually went out on the street 2 weeks ago, and that's going to give us an opportunity to look at a more thorough scooter program, making sure that we have designated parking so we don't have the issues we have now where it's everywhere. It's also staying and keeping our to-go bike into play. I just feel that that's really important. Not everybody has access to a bicycle, and to-go really makes that available through that. So we want to look at ways of making that also more affordable, as well as being able to expand it so it's more accessible to everyone. But that first and last mile is just so key in how people can move. And it goes back also to that quality of life. It's about being able to get to your destination and getting it to it in the time frame that you have vision in your mind. And so these elements are really important, and And I don't want to leave off your feet, because walking is always a very good way to get to somewhere in that first and last mile. It's also one of the healthiest choices you can make. So I want to encourage that you walk as well. So in our focus on complete streets, we're really working at adding shade to these walking paths so the area is shaded so we can encourage more of that walkability. So taking on the mayor with her initiative of 1 million trees, we're really looking at where we have these opportunities in these walking paths and trying to look at how we can plant trees along that way that will provide a canopy of shade so it's much more comfortable. So we'll all make that choice. And that also goes back to having a very sustainable environment, because if we can line more of these pathways that will encourage you to walk, it's also going to help reduce the heat island effect. And we find that that is very important, because our heat island effect is quite high here in the city of Tucson. So all of this plays in. It's part of the whole conversation of building our transportation system through the complete street lens and looking at those sustainable elements as part of the development. So we are making some ADA improvements. Just want to kind of dive into some things that are going on. Y'all know y'all have seen some barricades and contractors out there working. So we've been currently working on ADA improvements. We've been working on Oracle, and I know I'm going to be passing this off soon to my partners over at Arizona Department of Transportation. They've been working on it as well. But all of this is going to make the sidewalks much more accessible. So this is a win. So these are some of the pictures of some of the improvements we've been working on along Oracle, and you're going to see more coming also in Stone. Anything that's actually within the 05, you're going to be seeing it. We're making quite an investment right now. And then on demand is just something I wanted to talk to y'all about. This is a new initiative we kicked off in November of last year. We've had great success with it. The on demand was actually, we looked at the transit line and we just didn't have high ridership. And this was before, we looked at the ridership before the COVID, because COVID did unfortunately really change the dynamics of how people ride. I'm happy to say our ridership is actually back up and it's almost at 2019 numbers. So we're seeing some really good success. And I want to say that that's because mayor and council gave us the support that we needed to be able to build that ridership and trust back up and make it comfortable, and people realize they can get from A to B to where they need to safely and in a convenient time. So what On Demand has done is we looked at actually eliminating some of the cut through with the big buses through neighborhoods, put them on a direct route, you know, either north, south, east, west, and then used an on-demand service where you can actually use your app, you can download the app, and in the app, you can request the service and they will come and pick you up and take you to the nearest bus stop, or even if there's a destination within the area, they'll take you to that destination in the area. But if your destination is outside the area, they'll move you to the closest bus stop so you can grab the bus and get on. So On Demand is actually online. So if you go to Suntran, you want to find out more information, you can actually, excuse me, go to Suntran and On Demand is right there. And we want to encourage it. We have been doing some outreach with the Tucson House, and we're looking at expanding this. Like I said, this has been very successful for us. We want to expand it. We actually want to continue to continue to grow the on-demand business. So more to come, because this has been very successful for us. And we're finding this to be the new way in which we can actually reach the community. And it's much better than what it was in the past. Oh, by the way, just real quick, we did On Demand, the pilot that we're currently doing, by adjusting the main arterial routes for the buses. The dollars that we saved with not cutting through all the neighborhoods and doing the pickups and everything, we were able to use those dollars to do the On Demand. So there was no increase in cost, but it allowed us to provide better service. So that's a win for all of us because we were able to do this with no additional dollars needed. So another big project that's going on, and this is in partnership with RTA, is the initiative. And so the picture on the left that you see was actually where we were looking to improve the pedestrian movement and the bicycles passageway underneath the Union Pacific Railroad at Grant Road. Unfortunately, and that's sort of a concept design of what it would look like. Unfortunately, we hit a brick wall with Union Pacific Railroad with what they would allow based on their standards. And we weren't able to do this design. So we went back to the drawing boards and said, we have to figure out a way to provide pedestrian bicycles, a way to connect across, you know, the highway and also, excuse me, across the railroad, because that is the highway and the railroad is a natural barrier. And we wanted to figure out a way to connect the two. So staff went back and they came up with this design, and that's what you see on the right. It's actually a pedestrian pathway that will go over both the Interstate I-10 and as well as Union Pacific. And it will allow for the connection. It has ADA built into it. We are actually having conversations about maybe at the end of them building a kind of a pocket park that kind of will actually invite some of that. The pathway on the west side of the highway actually will be connecting to the loop. So again, it's about making those connections with the bicycle and the pedestrian movement and making it safe and making it comfortable. So we are looking at lighting and other elements, shade and everything. So again, trying to make decisions that will encourage people to use it. And so we're looking forward to bringing this forward a little bit more. We're in the feasibility of this potential concept, and hopefully we'll be moving on to the next stage after this. So that is all I have to share with everybody. So I'm going to stop sharing and I will stay on for any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Diana. There's a few questions that popped up that I'm going to field here for a second. There was a comment from a local business owner in the 11th and Flores area with some concerns about residents moving the barricades. So I did want to point I wanted to point your attention to that. I don't know if you have any comments that you wanted to make here. But one of the questions that came up was about the bicycle mobility. Is there a link to a bicycle map for the city or including the Thrive in the 05 area? And if there is, we can throw that into the chat as well.
Yeah, you know what? I'll find that link for you and send it to you, Teresa. That we do have one for the Prop 407. I'll see if I can find it and put it in the chat so that people can pull from it. I don't know. I don't have it off the top of my head. And so I apologize for that. I should have had us put it on the page, and I didn't think about it. But yes, there is actually a map that we have for the 407 that you would be able to go to, and you can actually drill down as to what's going to be happening in the 05.
Great. Will your presentation be available afterwards that we'd be able to post along with this recording?
Sure, I'll be more than happy to share it.
Cool. Thank you so much. So there was a question also, and Just for some clarification, so when you were speaking about the bus rapid transit, does that also include the proposed light rail project, or is that a separate project? And if so, what's the status of that one?
So the BRT, which is a bus rapid transit, the way we're approaching it in the planning is, bus rapid transit and light rail pretty much are the same thing. One is on rails and the other one's on tires, but it runs the same, it does the same thing. And so we are doing the planning so that if there is the opportunity for us to consider rail, we can jump from bus rapid to rail. So we're looking at both elements as part of the planning. But when we initiated this at the time, who was in the administration was really big on bus rapid transit. Now the administration is really big on rail. So there's opportunities for both, and we're leaving both windows open.
Great, thank you so much. If you have more questions for Diana, place them into the chat. We'll address them towards the end. But next, before I bring up our next presenters, I do want to give a quick shout out and thank you to Ward 3. Ward 3 is within the Thrive in U5 area. I know several staff members of Council Member Karen Ulick are on this call right now, and I want to thank all of you for your efforts in trying to get this information broadcasted out into the community. So thank you so much. I see Mike and Ernesto and Sarah on this call, so thank you, and I appreciate that. Our next speakers are from the Arizona Department of Transportation. We have Rod Lane and we have Doug Mosecki here to speak about the construction on Oracle Road and Miracle Mile. Doug and Rod, take it away.
Sorry, I had to hit the unmute button. My apologies. So thank you for inviting us. We're always like the opportunity to share what we're doing with ADOT. So my name is Rod Lane. With me today is Doug Mosecki, and we're going to kind of talk about what we do here in the local office of ADOT. We'll start off there. What's going on in the PAG region, what projects are going on in the PAG region, and then Doug is going to dive into a little bit more depth into the SR 77 project. So here in the South Central District, that's kind of the border of and the limits of the South Central District. So we go all the way up on I-10 to milepost 174-ish, all the way over to Benson. Then all of Pima County is within the South Central District. All of Santa Cruz County, so that would be Nogales and Patagonia, is all within the South Central District. And kind of the western section of Cochise County and Benson and Tombstone and down in Sierra Vista. So we manage all the state highways in that region. And by manage, I mean we do all the construction, all the maintenance, respond to all the emergency call outs on all of those state highways. So it's a pretty significant area with, 3 interstates, I-10, I-19, I-8, a large rural area, also 5 metropolitan planning organizations, including PAG, and then portions of 5 tribal nations are within our area. So some of the projects that we have going on in the PAG region. Of course, the big one is, one of the big ones is the I-10 Ruthroff traffic interchange. It's being done by Sunt Construction. That's an $80 million contract. And we're about 70–75% done with that job. It was delivered with a design bid build method, so a low bid scenario. And then we also had them bid time, which is what the A+B component is. We expect to have it done probably around the end of the year. Our expectation is to have the crossover done. In other words, go across the railroad, but no access to the ramps, probably around August, early August or so. And it's going to be a diamond interchange with the bridge over I-10 and then the Union Pacific Railroad, and then also over Highway Drive. So that project is moving along very nicely. And then we've also got another traffic interchange going on the southern section of I-10, and that's at Houghton Road. And that's being done by Ames Construction with a contract value of about $23–24 million. That was also done by the design bid build or low bid. We expect to have that one done also by late 2021. And that one's kind of a unique one because it's going to be the region's first divergent diamond. So if you look on the right, bottom right of the screen, you can see that the traffic is actually going to be crossing over to the other side of the road, and then it's going to be a free left to get onto the interstate for both directions, and then you'll through traffic will then cross back over to the other side. And we've got these in several locations across the state, but this is the first one that's going to be in the PAG region, so we're all excited about that one. And I have trouble seeing this one. Is this the I-19? This is the I-19 pavement preservation rehab and the bridge rehab in Sahuarita that we have going on down in the Nogales area on I-19 with Fisher Sand and Gravel. Actually, this is the one on way down on I-19 with Fisher Sand and Gravel. We actually got 2 of them down there. So this is a pavement preservation job on I-19, and it's also going to be the deck rehab on Sahuarita Road. I can't see the time on that one. And then this one is the SR-77 job. So I'm going to turn this one over to Doug, and Doug will talk about this.
Oh, thanks, Rod. Yeah, we're actually very excited about the SR-77 project. I know everyone knows it's a long time in coming, and this particular project is actually the combination of 3 different projects. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner the three different projects as they're getting started, but it's basically a pavement preservation project that's going to start right at I-10 and Miracle Mile. And it's Miracle Mile all the way over to SR-77, and then it's SR-77 all the way up to Calle Concordia. So it'll be 10 miles in total, but the 3 different projects are really I-10 to River Road is one project. Then there's a second project from River to Calle Concordia. The third project is actually RTA brought that in, which will be a great addition. It's at SR-77 and McGee. We're going to be adding dual turn lanes to go from northbound to turn left to go west on to McGee. So the Granite Construction is the contractor that was selected for this project. The bid amount was just over $34 million. It's also design bid build, so a low bid. Heavy work really started on it in April. They have until spring of 23 to complete the entire segment. Right now, if you've been out and driving on Miracle Mile or Oracle south of Roger, you've seen a lot of barricades on the south side of Miracle Mile or the east side of SR-77. And you may not have seen a whole lot of work because we made the decision on this project to do all the work at night. So all the work is occurring between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. To try to help with traffic flows during the day. But it's primarily the piece in the 05 is primarily a pavement preservation project where we're doing, just like Diana on Oracle to the south, we're doing some ADA improvements with sidewalks, driveways, and curb returns. They're working down the south and the east side, kind of stair-stepping across or hopscotching across different driveways so we can always maintain access. There are actually about 1,100 businesses along this corridor that we're coordinating with as the work is being completed. And the intent is to, once they make it up to River on the east side, they will then come back, work on the north side of Miracle Mile, the west side of 77, and then I think the part that everybody is hoping to get to is the paving. They will have it paved from I-10 to River by the end of this year. They're also going to be kind of jumping up to the north end to do Calle Concordia down to McGee by the end of the year. The stretch in between is a little more intense, putting in sidewalk, curb and gutter, some street lighting for stretches of it. We're also enclosing some of our storm drain. So we're doing some underground work with the utilities, but They're making great progress. You know, we just ask that, you know, everyone keep their eyes open, drive the speed limits, keep an eye out for the construction workers. And, you know, hopefully they will continue to progress on their schedule. And by the end of the year, we'll have some real nice pavement to drive through in the 05. The other project that I wanted to mention briefly on 77 is actually the next stretch. I know it's north of the 05, but if you're heading north at all into Oro Valley, we're completing final design from Calle Concordia all the way up to Tangerine. So that is estimated at just under $12 million. It'll also be a low bid, and it's going to be advertised in early 2022 with just a 6 to 7 month time frame, because it is strictly a pavement preservation project. So hopefully in the near future, as everyone is heading up 77 to the Pima County line, we'll have some nice smooth asphalt to be driving on. So, thanks, Rod. I'll turn it back over to you.
Oh, okay. And then we wanted to talk about some of the things happening in the future here. And the Sonoran corridor is quite a popular topic within the city of Tucson and also in Pima County. And it's a new facility which is going to connect I-19 to I-10 on the south side of town by the airport. So we've got the tier 1 design concept report is done with a preferred alternative. We're navigating through that. You can find this all on our website as well. There is no funding for tier 2 yet, which would be kind of an expansion of the environmental impact of it, but we're looking for funding for that phase. And before it goes to any kind of final design, we have to complete that tier 2 segment. So we're still kind of in the preliminary phases of this project. And the next steps, of course, are going to be to get that final record of decision and then move into see about funding for the tier 2 segment of that one. And Doug?
Yep, and then a great way to be able to stay involved or keep up to date on activities that are occurring on the SR77 project or any of our state routes or highways is if you go to ADOT's website, azdot.gov, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see subscribe for updates. And so you can go ahead and enter in your email address and you can also select the different areas that you're interested in receiving updates on. And so whenever we issue a traffic alert, project update, you will receive an email as well. So it will help you keep aware of the activities that are occurring on the routes you're looking to drive.
So this would be exactly how they would do it if they would want to get specific updates for SR77 project, for the SR77 project.
Yes, yep, yeah, you would just select SR77 as one of the areas you'd like updates for.
Okay. And I do believe that was all for our presentation. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Great, thank you so much, Doug and Rod. And just to highlight one of the pieces that you mentioned, doing the work at night to kind of help with that transportation and that kind of disruption that could potentially occur to traffic patterns during the day. We want to thank you for taking those considerations into effect with this massive project. I've driven through the area both day and night, and I've noticed that as well. And it really is, it's really making things more accessible than if everything was closed down during the day. So I want to thank you both and ADOT for that foresight. I want to make a quick note. I put a note in the chat. SR77 is that I-10 to Miracle Mile and Miracle Mile, I-10 and Miracle Mile all the way to Oracle, and then Oracle Road all the way up to Globe, Arizona. So that's not where the construction project is all the way up to Globe, but just so that you know, as far as anchoring within the community, it is that primary Oracle Road area within the Thrive in the 05. If businesses who are open, I'm thinking our restaurants and some of our service industry who do have a lot of their activity happening, between the 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. timeframe. If they have any specific questions with regards to the project, are your 2 email addresses a good way for business owners to connect, or is there another way you prefer for local businesses to connect with any questions or concerns?
Well, hopefully, we actually have our RTA Main Street is part of the SR 77 project as well. So hopefully, our PIO here locally, Joanna Bradley, as well as the RTA representatives have made attempts to contact all the businesses along the corridor to be able to provide updates, make sure we have the correct information. But yeah, Joanna Bradley would be, you can certainly send them to me, but honestly, I will forward them on to Joanna, and she would then make sure they were all entered into our system and reply. Yes.
So the PIO is a public information officer, and that's what Joanna Bradley's role is.
Yeah, and it's very similar. It's just JBradley@azdot.gov. I'm going to double check that here.
Great, thank you so much. We'll go ahead and include that. And same question for you as we had for Diana. Are you able to share this presentation with us that we could link it for those who are unable to see this live?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll have that available.
Should we send you a PDF?
Sure, that would be fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Well, I don't see any other questions for you all. If you want to stick around, and we'll see if anything shows up at the end.
Well, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to send them. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you so much. And again, Rod and Doug, thank you for joining us today and providing these updates. It's very helpful to know, and when we see barricades going up, it's helpful to kind of know what the long range plan is and what's happening kind of more in present day as well. So in our final few minutes, we've got some updates from our Thrive in the O5 collaborative lead partners. And so our first update is going to come from Pima Community College, our Dean of Applied Technology, Mr. Greg Wilson. And he'll speak for about 5 minutes on the construction updates for the Center of Excellence at Pima Community College. So Greg, take it away.
Thank you, Teresa. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not presenting a PowerPoint. I'm just going to share and kind of narrate over a couple of videos. Just want to give you an idea of what's going on at Pima Community College. About a month ago, Tuesday, May 18th, we had a ribbon cutting for our brand new Automotive Technology and Innovation Center. For those of you who have been to downtown campus, our automotive program is moving from an 11,000 square foot space into this location here, which is just under 50,000 square feet. And at some point, the camera is going to pan to the right, but this building has 4 classrooms and as well as 3 OEM spaces, which are original equipment manufacturer locations. So it's a really great advancement for our program because we're going to be able to do so much more. And that includes, working with our local high school partners. So if you didn't know, Amphi High School, for example, recently changed automotive faculty. And so we are working with him to make sure that our dual enrollment stays aligned. And you can kind of get an idea there of how big, and what you just saw panned on the left is exactly what's on the right side. So you kind of get half an idea of how big the building is. And you can kind of see those spaces to the back where the light is coming through. Those are the OEM locations where we will do training for Ford. And I spoke to GM folks out of Detroit earlier today. And then we're working on the third. But again, this first phase of the Center of Excellence in Applied Technology is part of the community hub. And so when we talk about serving industry, it's also for the community. And so, as I mentioned with Amphi, we want students from the JTED programs and the high school programs that don't necessarily have facilities like this. We want those faculty members to bring their students over. The classrooms here are also set up in a way, technologically speaking, we call them high flex classrooms. And so if Skylar, our department head for automotive, was to pull an automobile into one of the classrooms, they can pull an engine and he can train the students that are right there in the lab, but it's high flex, so he could also stream that content to high school programs in the area, so they could do the same thing and kind of learn the lesson before the students come into the lab and actually work on the automobiles. So that's phase one. I know we have just a couple of minutes, so I'm going to go to the next thing I just want to share. I realize this is not in the right location, but just wanted you to wanted to give you the whole idea. Phase two of the expansion for the Center of Excellence in Applied Technology is doubling the space of our aviation program. So here's just a quick time lapse of what that looks like. I should have mentioned that automotive is open. I was over there today. The faculty have all moved in and classes will start there on August 19th, full 100%. The aviation center here is scheduled to be completed in February, March of next year. So they will double that when we get to that point. And then last but not least, just wanted to share this video, which is stage 3 of the Center of Excellence in Applied Technology. Thankfully, the sound is not there. Okay, so for those of you who have been to downtown campus, as we kind of fly in here, you can see this new blue wall to the right.
Greg, I hate to interrupt, but we're not seeing the downtown campus. We're still seeing aviation.
Oh, hold just a second. Thank you. How about now?
Looks great. Thank you.
All right. So if you see this blue wall, that does not currently exist. So our workforce development team, I think Crispin was still on, and Ian and a whole bunch of folks will be moving to the downtown campus. And as we zoom in, you've probably been to the RV building with the red roof, celebrating its 100-year anniversary. And then here is the new. I mentioned automotive is 2 stories, just under 50,000 square feet. This is the advanced manufacturing building, which will be 3 stories and about 100,000 square feet. It will house 4 advanced manufacturing programs. That would include machining, our robotics AIT program, computer-aided design, and welding. It will also feature an incubator space on the 3rd floor, and there will be a makerspace Idea Lab on the 1st floor. If you've been to the Amethyst room at the downtown campus for meetings, as we head up to the 3rd floor, you'll see there's a space that's just about as big, just slightly bigger than the Amethyst room, but there's also a patio, so it actually is quite larger. Offices will be in there as well. We're also resurrecting our optics and photonics laser courses. We have a partnership with Optics Valley, so we're looking forward to making those offerings public again. You can kind of see here, one of the unique features of the building is this crane. So heavy shipments of metal or whatever materials we're working on, or if we want to move heavy equipment onto the 2nd floor, we will put it on the crane and it will go across the building and get dropped through certain locations. On the 2nd floor here, you can kind of see that glass to the left. That is an 11,000 square foot flexible industry training lab. If you're familiar, we've trained Caterpillar engineers, for example, on welding, machining, and prototyping. We could only run those classes on Friday mornings because our credit classes weren't using the labs at that time. And so having an 11,000 square foot space to train industry whenever is going to be a great thing for the college, for industry, and for the community. And so this is just kind of going back in through the 2nd floor, and we'll end quickly on the 3rd floor as we kind of go through the area, but you can see how it's an open lab. This glass to the left will be a student lounge. We will probably put video game components there in partnership with our digital arts program. Now we're going up to the third floor where the diamond room will be located. So you can see it's about the size of the Amethyst, but when you extend off into the patio and you can look at the Catalinas, it's going to be a great community location for meetings and telling the story of what's going on inside the building. Completion date for that is not this Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving of 2022. And then the part that I kind of started with workforce, that renovation to the ST building will occur after that. And our building and construction lab will move from 2,000 square feet and take over the rest of the ST West building, expanding to about 22,000 square feet. So that's a quick update. I know we're running out of time. Any questions?
Great, thank you so much, Greg. One quick question, just to reiterate for the community. Can you speak to a little bit to what our classes will be like for the fall and how we've adapted with the pandemic and what we're looking at for the fall in terms of how we offer classes at Pima College?
Yes. So during the pandemic, it's probably obvious that, you know, our online component went from about 33% of our class offerings to actually just under 50%. And we're seeing that that is going back. I know for applied technology, where we do a lot of hands-on, for fall, we're up about 160%, because we will, right now, as of today, we are still requiring masks, but we will not have social distancing. Faculty and students will be back on campus like regular. So no social distancing, no temperature checks, no sign-in or anything like that. It'll just be back to normal. But we've also learned a lot. So even hands-on welding, machining, we have added some online components, providing students access to content that they can review at any time before they come into the labs and do their hands-on assessments.
Great, thank you so much. And I want to thank you for being here this evening and sharing those updates. Pima Community College enrollment is open now. So if anyone listening knows anyone who is looking to enroll at Pima College, enrollment is ongoing throughout the summer for our fall semester. And as Greg mentioned, we do have kind of multimodal availability, online, virtual, in-person classes that'll occur in the fall. So we may go a couple minutes over 4 o'clock. We scheduled this till 4, but we are recording. So if you have to jump off right at, or 5 o'clock, sorry. If you have to jump off right at 5 o'clock, we will record this and that way you can catch the tail end. But I want to invite my colleague, Allison Miller, lead planner from City of Tucson Housing and Community Development, to give some important and awesome community updates with regards to some programs available through Housing and Community Development. And again, Diana, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Allison and take it away.
Thanks, Teresa. I'll try to be quick. I'll try to just take the 2 minutes. But I wanted to give some quick updates on where we are with the kind of Choice Neighborhood Thrive in the 05 work. Folks might actually remember, I think the last time that the Thrive in the 05 Business Forum was conducted in person was a design charrette with area businesses. So January 2020, you know, we sat down at tables at PCC and talked about, you know, economic development and the DRACHMAN corridor. And so folks may have figured a lot of that planning has been on hold due to COVID-19. You know, we just haven't been able to do the in-person events that we really wanted to, but we're planning on coming out to the community with kind of a draft transformation plan that includes the feedback from you know, the economic development design charrettes, as well as, you know, housing and neighborhood infrastructure, all kind of in one plan. So I just wanted to flag to be on the lookout for that in July and August, so likely before the next business forum. But obviously we work really closely with Ward 3 and Teresa, and so we'll be sure to get those opportunities to provide feedback and kind of see the update on that plan. You'll get that notice through the Business Connection. The second thing being Folks might also remember that part of the Choice Neighborhoods grant is an action grant. So we have some funding for action activities. Those we've also sort of been working on in the background this past year. The proposed projects include things like a business and thought improvement program, some corridor branding of the historic Miracle Mile, public art, and things like traffic calming along 15th Avenue, right? Kind of expanding on the Slow Streets project that Diana talked about. So we're waiting for, our grant is from HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Department. That's federal level. So we're waiting on the official approval from them before, really doing more outreach around, what exactly are those going to look like. So be on the lookout for that, because those will be exciting. And then the third thing, see if I can share my screen. We are hiring for neighborhood ambassadors in the Thrive in the 05 area. Can you see my screen, Teresa? Okay.
Yeah,
We're mainly looking for folks who live kind of in that, I don't know, it's a traffic avoid Miracle Mile to Speedway, I-10 to Stone. But we're kind of welcoming anyone who has connections to the Thrive in the 05 area to apply. So if you're a business owner in the area and you're interested in engaging residents, or if you have employees who live and work in, or who work in the area and are tied to the area, please let them know of this opportunity. Or if you have people who come to your business and you would want to put up a flyer, we're hiring people to do some community engagement around the transformation plan, again, over the summer, but then we'll also be needing additional folks to engage community members and businesses like yourself in the action activities as those roll out over the next year into 2022. So I know that's a lot. If people have questions, please feel free to reach out, or reach out to Teresa, who can get a hold of me. And I can share all these links, obviously, in Teresa's follow-up email. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much, Allison. And that information has been in the Thrive in the 05 Business Connection email, but for the new subscribers who may receive their first email this Friday, we'll have that information about the ambassador program as well on Friday. So with that, I do want to give a verbal save the date. Our next Thrive in the 05 Business Forum will be on Monday, September 20th. Currently it is scheduled for 4 to 5 p.m. and we will see kind of where we're at in terms of if in-person is feasible at that time, and if so, we may adjust that time slightly so that we're able to accommodate work schedules and business schedules. So stay tuned, that information will be in the Thrive in the 05 Business Connection email. Again, I want to thank all of our presenters today, Diana, Rod, Doug, Allison, Greg, and all of you, as well as Ward 3 for their ongoing support. We had over 30 people at the height of our webinar this afternoon, and we look forward to answering any questions and continuing to engage with you as we move through the summer and into the fall. With that, I want to wish you all a great week, and we will talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa.